I've made several videos in regards to the problem with time signature, and that's a lot of talk for someone who hasn't actually taught them. But that's exactly what I'm going to do in this video, so let's take a look and learn about beats, meter, and time signature using the God of War soundtracks. In this video, I'm going to be teaching these concepts a little bit differently than what you might normally see. I won't be addressing those differences here to help minimize confusion, but I have plenty of videos showing what those differences are and why the traditional way is problematic. Beats are the pulses of music. You could think of them as what you might tap your feet to. Beats, of course, could be short, they could be long, but are described as the accented pulses you hear in music. So let's listen for these pulses in this track, Poseidon's Wrath from God of War 3. Well, that's easy enough, but beats don't have to be the same length. Length of beats in a piece could change, with some shorter than others, like in this track, Glory of Sparta from God of War 2. Meter is the repeated pattern of beats in music. Taking a listen to the theme to 2018's God of War, this intro has one strong accented beat followed by 3 weaker beats from the men's chorus. This means the meter of this piece is in 4. The Minotaur boss battle from God of War 1 has a repeated pattern of 3 beats. But as I mentioned before, beats don't necessarily have to be the same length. So let's listen to Battle for the Skies from God of War 2. Notice we have one longer beat and one shorter beat. The meter of this is exactly that, 2 beats, one long and one short. Let's look at another possibility. In Bound by Blood from Ascension, we have 2 long followed by 2 short beats, so the meter would be in 4. The same meter is found in Battle for the Lethal Sirens from God of War 1. Having this concept of meter down, it makes understanding something like this a lot easier, and I'll break down the long and short beats more in a moment. The time signature is how we write the music on paper that makes it the easiest for the musician to read. This can be a little tricky because multiple time signatures can actually fit a piece of music, but what would make the most sense? Taking the track, Ares Destroys Athens from God of War 1, if we count out our meter, we have 5 even pulses. Now, what should we value these pulses as? Quarter notes, eighth notes, half notes? It actually doesn't matter. Judging by how a piece sounds, you might prefer one over another, but I think a good rule of thumb, and a place to start, is where all beats are even, is to get the time signature as close to 4/4 where the quarter note gets the beat as you can. So in this case, it would be 5/4, 5 quarter notes, and if you follow this idea, I'd wager it would work the majority of the time. That honestly is for pieces that have subdivisions of 2, or what's called simple time. Now, there is the possibility that you notice beats seem to have subdivisions in multiples of 3 rather than 2, like in Brothers of Blood from God of War 3. This is where the standard practice would be to have these subdivisions still be eighth notes, but since they're grouped into 3s, the dotted quarter would then get the beat. For this track, I could see arguments saying that there are 2 beats to the bar or 4, so the time signature for 2 dotted quarter note beats would be 6/8, and 4 beats would be 12/8 because the bottom number in standard music practices will be powers of 2, so 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, etc. Yes, 1 could be in the denominator as well, but that's extremely rare, and there would need to be a very specific circumstance for a different number than what's mentioned above to show up. So I'm not going to dive into those here. But for the pieces that have beats with subdivisions of 3, typically you're going to stick with an 8 in the denominator. You could write this as 4/4 and the quarter notes divided into triplets, that's technically not wrong. With this in mind, let's listen to a few more tracks and see if we can logic our way into what the time signature would be. The last one I have is a doozy, but oh so fun. I'll let the track play for a few patterns of the meter before I jump in with my thoughts. This track is in a straight and simple 4-meter progression, making it a clear 4/4 time signature. This track is in a straight 4-beat meter, but the beats have a triplet subdivision, so the standard notation for this time signature would be 12/8. There is a clear meter of 6 even beats in this one, and honestly, based on standard repertoire, this could have time signatures of 3/4, 6/8, or 6/4. All could work. Here we have a 3-beat meter progression, 2 short beats followed by a longer beat. Something I didn't mention before is that the vast majority of music you will hear will either have subdivisions of 2 or 3, and they can mix, just like in this piece. So now we can translate the short beats to being a 2 and the long beats to being a 3, and from there we just add them up. Since we were dealing with subdivisions, that's where I default to having an 8 in the denominator. Then we place the 2, 2, 3 in the numerator and get 7/8 time. I know that might have sounded complicated, but we'll do a few more and you'll see the logic behind it. This track to me feels like 8 even beats, but having a pattern of 3 beats, 3 beats, 2 beats. So in my mind it could be written as 8/4, but considering that there's a pattern within, in this case I think a 3/4, 3/4, 2/4 would be an ideal way to write it. The meter of this is 3 short and 1 long, making for a 9/8 time signature. This track has 4 long beats and 1 short one, so using our guidelines so far, that would be 3, 3, 3, 3, 2 meter, or 14/8. I do think it would be easier to read it if it was divided up, and my thoughts are a measure of 9/8 followed by a measure of 5/8, like this. This track has a meter of 333322, so 6 beats total. Adding those up, we get a time signature of 16/8. This could be reduced to 4/4, and one of the metrical beats would cross the bar line. My best guess of a way to divide this in a time signature sequence would be a measure of 12/8 for the 4 3s, and then a 2/4 bar for the 2 2s. Now, it's time for the big one. This track has a 7-beat meter progression, 3-2-2-3-3-2-3, or 18/8 time. Yeah, this one could use a reduction and a sequence, and I can see 4 progression possibilities: 7-8-6-8-5-8, 5-8-5-8-5-8-3-8, 7-8-8-8-3-8, but since we have an accent on these 2 beats, it could be written as 10-8-8-8. Everyone will have a different opinion on what the time signature should be, but my goal today is that we all agree that it's a 7-beat meter progression. I understand there may still be some confusion about the differences between meter and time signature, but I will explain that in greater detail in another video, so stay tuned for that. But until then, I hope this video helped explain what beat, meter, and time signature are. Let me know if you have any questions down below, and I'll of course see you next time.